The kestrels returned to their old nest box in February. But they were also interested in the second nest box, so they had to defend both nest boxes from the stock doves and the jackdaws, which were also taking a keen interest in a possible nesting site. It was a constant battle which took place daily over several weeks. And at times there was some fierce fighting to establish their nesting place. But all that changed on March the 15th with the arrival at the nest box of a pair of mandarin ducks. They quickly decided they were going to use this nest box as their nest. And they wasted no time in making it their home and laying the first eggs. When the female needed to leave the nest for food, she very carefully covered the eggs to hide them so that no predators could find them. When the kestrels returned, they had no idea that the box had been occupied by the ducks. The jackdaws were still around as well, and the kestrels were still defending the nest box against the jackdaws. But the jackdaws were very persistent, and they even went inside the box. But they didn't see anything, and little did they know that they were actually standing on the eggs. The duck came back and settled in again to continue incubating her eggs. The kestrel returned and was surprised to see the duck sitting on her eggs. She realised the duck was too big to handle, so she reluctantly abandoned the nest box in favour of nest box 2. The kestrels and jackdaws did not return, and the duck successfully incubated her eggs, which hatched about a month later. 24 hours after hatching, returning from her feed, the duck came back to the box with 3 male escorts. And later, the very same day, it was time to leave the nest. The mother left the nest, calling the chicks to follow her. She jumped down to the ground. and once on the ground, she calls to the chicks to follow her. And so the chicks leave the nest and jump onto the platform. The nest box is about 20 feet from the ground, but spurred on by their mother's call, the chicks launch themselves like lemmings from the platform and fall to the ground below. It was a remarkable sight to see, and standing on the ground below, it felt like it was raining ducklings. Amazingly, all 11 of the chicks made it to the ground unscathed. They just bounced when they landed and then waddled off. When they were all safely down, the mother flew over the wall and the poor little ducklings had to climb the wall to get to her. And all this happened in the first 48 hours of their life. Meanwhile, the kestrels, having lost their battle for the first nest box, concentrated their efforts in the second nest box. With the male continuing to bring food for the female. The stock doves, however, still hadn't given up their fight for this nest post. But the kestrels were having none of it. And after this bruising encounter, I think the stock doves had had enough. The male continued to bring food for his mate, and when he brought a very tasty lizard, which she quickly devoured, he got his just reward. And then, just 2 weeks later, the first egg was laid. The eggs were laid at 2-day intervals until she had 5 eggs, which she then incubated over a period of the next 4 weeks. And during this period of incubation, the male continued to bring food so that the female rarely had to leave the nest. And then, on the 23rd of May, the first of the eggs hatched. With just a little bit of help from Mother. And even before all the eggs had hatched, the mother went out to catch food to feed the first 3 hungry chicks. At 1 week old, the chicks were growing very rapidly. So the male was kept very busy, providing food for the mother and the 5 rapidly growing chicks. The chicks developed very quickly, and at 2 weeks old they already had their first feathers. Both parents worked very hard together to provide food for their offspring. And at 3 weeks old, the first chick ventures out of the nest and comes to say hello. The other chicks start exercising their wings, ready for their first flight. And the last chick leaves the nest on 22nd of July, just 4 weeks after hatching. The siblings stay around for the next 2 weeks before they finally left to start a new life. We just hope the parents will return again next year.